tell us about the 9 worst things to say to someone getting divorced.
Just because your life is starting over doesn't mean your life is over. I am so sorry. Don't say that either. You just need to get out there and start dating again, and then you'll feel better. This must be incredibly hard. I hope you're giving yourself permission to feel whatever comes up. No one's going to say that.
Okay.
I mean, come on, realistic. Who's going to say that?
That's a little too touchy-feely psychobabble. Hey, everybody, what's happening? It's Rayford Palmer and Rahul Iyer for the I Just Want This Done Divorce podcast. We are recording in front of a live studio audience. They are watching on X, Facebook, and I think YouTube and the Riverside.fm platform. So we're here with a hot episode. This one's short and sweet. For those of you who would go to church at 6:30 in the morning, it's going to be like that. We're going to get right to communion and skip all of the preliminaries. So we're a little pressed for time, but we've extracted the essence for you of what makes this show great. And we're going to roll right into it. So here we go. Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott divorced at last. 3 exclamation points in the TMZ article by TMZ staff. This was published a few days ago. Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott officially history because their divorce has been finalized. Okay, congratulations.
Good.
In my opinion, she has too much lip filler, but that's who's judging. That's terrible. All right. Moving on. Their marriage was formally put to rest in court Thursday. That's a hell of a way to say it. Put to rest. Jeez. Okay. And according to legal docs obtained by TMZ, Tori's walking away with full interest in many of her TV shows and non-scripted projects, including but not limited to Beverly Hills 90210 and her Misspelling podcast. There's a reference to Beverly Hills in quotes as well. You know, the teen drama Beverly Hills 90210 brought her to the mainstream in the 1990s. Of course, I believe it was produced by her father, Aaron Spelling. Isn't that right?
Yeah, exactly. I just connected it too. Misspelling is like you're misspelling a word, but also misspelling.
That's
clever. I like that.
Podcast name is clever. Very good. So, of course, she has a pod. So, understandably, she and Dean share interest in their joint projects, such as the Tori and Dean in Love. That's ironic. Storybook weddings with Tori and Story, probably no longer as relevant as it once was, and cooking channel specials, to name a few. Speaking of joint projects, I'm quoting the story. They have quite a unique setup for their 5 children. No child support. Each party is simply in charge of paying the needs of their kids while they have custody of them. Rahul, why don't you address this? It's not crazy, right? Like, this is something we've seen occasionally where people agree to cover costs rather than pay support.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very, very frequent, right? So that's one of the beauties of working out a divorce by agreement rather than having a judge make a determination is you can be very creative in solutions. Rather than me giving you money so you can pay for the expenses, I'll just pay all of it. We'll figure out a dynamic where certain expenses get paid, or in other circumstances, I'll pay you a lot less, but I'll cover a larger percentage. So there's a lot of different deals that can be made. Now, if it went to a judge can't make deals. The judge has to order or make rulings in order based on what the law is. So there will be a lot of money exchanging hands or going back and forth, et cetera. So this is a good way to do it.
So not unusual to see where the parents just agree to split the costs. And in a world where both people are making income, have incomes and assets, this kind of solution can be a lot simpler than paying child support and then trying to split expenses. So especially these days with equal parenting time or getting closer to equal parenting time, then that payor, the person that used to be the support payor, we used to do things like adjust their support downward in the old days when they had much more parenting time to try to accommodate for the fact that the kids were really living with them a lot of time anyway.
Yeah, a large portion of the time. Mm-hmm.
Giving a bunch of child support to the other parent didn't make a lot of sense under those circumstances. So good for them. Says they divorced on friendly terms, and it says they can now move on with their new relationships. So, hey, congratulations. So now the divorce party can begin. We've got an update on the Sia divorce, and we have some news for you folks. Before the show, we love this clip here. This one.
Up with it, girl. Rock with it, girl. Show them it, girl. With a bang bang.
Right. It says Sia. And I did a really bad imitation of that for the last show. If you missed episode 43, we didn't know what the lyrics were. I thought it was like, oh, pretty girl, ba-da-bum-bum. So we, being your investigative reporters, Rahul, tell them what we found out. We did some digging.
So the lyrics actually are much, much different. It's got nothing to do with Pretty Girl or anything like that. In fact, what they're saying is up with it, girl. Rock with it, girl. Show them it, girl. Bounce with it.
Bada bang bang.
Bounce with it, girl. Dance with it, girl. You know?
Bounce with it.
My one line of Jamaican accent. So there you go.
So,
Up with it, girl. Rock with it, girl. Show them it, girl.
Right.
Bada bang bang.
we don't really understand Jamaican patois very well. So we took a shot at it, and now we've demystified for the audience. So now you guys know what it is. So anyway, give us the scoop on this divorce.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sia and her estranged husband, Daniel Bernard, have been ordered to enter a mediation session. It's from TMZ, reported to you by TMZ. Been ordered to enter a mediation session to try to, what they say, hammer out custody issues in their, what they call, contentious divorce. We had previously talked about Sia in prior episodes. Daniel had an emergency request for full custody that was denied by the judge. And Sia had filed for divorce in March after about 2 years of marriage, and she has primary custody of her son right now with very limited visitation rights for Daniel. But Daniel tried to accuse Sia of being a danger to this child, accusing her of struggling with substance abuse issues, etc. And the child's name, as we mentioned, was Somersault previously. So anyway, they've been ordered to attend mediation to try to work out custody issues. And this is actually fairly normal. What we see in our jurisdiction up in Illinois anyway, is mediation is often a precursor before anything else is to happen. Before a judge wants to or should make a decision, they give the parties the chance to work out these issues with these trained mediators who are pretty good at, getting people to come to some sort of agreement, whether it's whole, partial, etc. So good progress. I mean, you can go to mediation, sit there, not say anything and leave, but hopefully they can work something out. Sia's got Laura Wasser as her attorney, as we mentioned previously.
One of the famous celebrity divorce attorneys.
Yep. And so she's going to have good advice on what she should do, game plan for mediation. And don't go to mediation just, you're going to swing it, figure it out. Got to have a game plan. So
you need to understand how mediation works, understand what you're going to ask for, because the mediator is going to say, well, what do you want? And you have to have a good idea in mind of what you're wanting. And what you're willing to agree on. And otherwise you're just wasting your time in the mediation. So that's great advice. So, okay, moving on, though. So hopefully they make progress in mediation and save themselves a lot of grief. And a lot of parents will fight over these custody issues thinking they've kind of got something, like in this case, one of them accusing the other of using drugs. In our experience, it better be hard drugs and better affect the children directly, or you're not going to go anywhere. Ultimately, it has to be serious stuff. Okay, so we got some questions from our audience, as we do typically, and some of these from the Illinois Divorce Support Network, our private Facebook group. Link in the description to the show. Also easy to find online, free to join. We just ask for an email address, and you can post anonymously to the group, and the group chimes in, answer, and we answer them as well. And it's a good source for some material for the show. So we get great questions from here and elsewhere in social media.
Yeah, I'll ask you the first question. So this one is from a listener or maybe a reader. Is there any reason my attorney's office has given me so many different numbers for child support and maintenance? I understand it depends on custody, but with my co-parents, limited overnights, so with the other parent having very limited overnights, I'm not sure how the numbers keep fluctuating. What should I do?
So this is a good question. We're divorce lawyers in Chicago. By the way, STG Divorce Law, stglawfirm.com. We represent smart, successful people, and we get them divorced better. So the trick is, if your combined income is under $500,000, and that's most people, then it's really a math problem. And we just use software. We plug in the numbers and the information about the children, and we come up with the answer. Because Illinois uses guidelines to determine support, it's really a formula. So there really should be no variation in these numbers. The only way they'll change is if the inputs change. So my question back to this person is, what's your lawyer putting into the software to get the results? So they should see the worksheet. The software generates a worksheet showing all the things plugged in and the answers. So this person can then determine, okay, are they putting the right numbers in and the right information in to get the right answer? So like the days for visitation, for child support, the correct income numbers, And that will give you the answer to figure this out. The way it might change is if the facts have changed, or there's somebody's arguing, if there's a variable income scenario where we have somebody's income goes up and down, and one person's arguing it should be X dollars and the other person's arguing the income should be Y dollars, then you'd run two different scenarios and come up with two different answers. So you really have to go back to the attorney and say, well, how did you come up with these numbers? Why are they different? And understand the context, and then it will make sense. So all things being equal, the numbers should never be different. It's a mathematical certainty what the answer would be. When you go beyond $500,000, the numbers can deviate from that formula. And sometimes a court could find a reason to deviate from the guidelines, but that's very rare. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say another reason it could possibly deviate could be if you look at things like who gets to claim the dependency exemption.
Sure.
So if you can run it in different scenarios, like who's paying insurance, who's claiming the kid or the child as a dependent, how are taxes being filed? Are you filing it married, filing separately, head of household, married, filing jointly, single? All those things can play a role in this. You also have something that says you can run it using what the state calls a gross to net tables, or you can use what the other idea is called an individualized tax amount. And there's bases for using either one of those or both of those, depending on the situation, as the law kind of details. And your lawyer will be able to explain all this to you. It sounds to me like, they're sort of building a gradient of different potential outcomes to say your child support can fall between one of these points markers. So you could have it in all these different potentials, but you're sort of in this range. And of course, depending on how long it's been between running different numbers, if you ran one a year ago and you're running one now, these guideline calculations are always changing due to cost of living adjustments, inflation, etc. So using the same variables, same numbers, using all the same everything, you'll have a different number this time if it's been enough time where the tables have been updated. So
those are great points. And again, these are Illinois specific, but the concepts are the same in other states. So it's really important to talk to your attorney and understand why they're coming up with these numbers and ask them about the background information. So one of the struggles a lot of divorce lawyers have is educating their clients properly. It's just not something they're trained to do. And unfortunately, it's an on-demand thing, meaning you need to ask your lawyer to explain things to you in most cases. They think, well, I don't want to bill the client for that, or that's not important because I just tell them what the deal is and that's going to be it. This is the answer. Don't argue with me kind of thing, which is unfortunate because clients should know what's going on. They should be educated. This is one of the biggest things going on in their lives. But it's important to be that squeaky wheel and demand answers from your attorney. You're entitled to know. So it's like any serious buying decision. It's like buying a house. You should be educated about the home, or in this case, the divorce. So Rahul, I've got a question for you. Can I file a rule to show cause against my soon-to-be ex for custody or visitation interference if all we have is a verbal agreement between us, our attorneys, and the judge? Or does it have to be in writing? I imagine they mean the court order or the agreement.
Right. So I was just going to say, you probably don't have an agreement with the judge. You probably have recommendations from a judge that you've sort of agreed to either via email or verbally. No problem. A rule to show cause is basically requesting what they call an indirect civil contempt ruling or finding to say that there was a court order that was violated. Now, if you don't have a court order, you can't really be in contempt of something.
You can't violate an order that doesn't exist.
Exactly. So you can make all kinds of deals, handshake deals, etc., court's recommendations, things like that. And if it's not reduced to an order, can't really violate it. So you can't really go against someone for a rule to show cause for a finding of indirect civil contempt based on that. A court can also, let's say you had a hearing and the court made a ruling and said, okay, prepare the order according to my ruling, and no one did, or it's still being in the works of being prepared, and then there's all kinds of violations. Even then, I don't think you can actually go after someone for contempt because the order doesn't exist. But here's what's going to happen from practical perspective, right? You're talking about what, you call in your book, in Rafe's book that you guys should check out. You'll talk about it here in a second, but called the meta case, where the judge is going to know if the judge makes strong recommendations or rulings, or if the judge knows the parties have worked something out that one party isn't following, how much grace do you think that party is going to get going forward? What is the judge going to think of this person on a big picture? We're talking about one limited issue of this agreement, but you still have the rest of the case to go. The judge is going to start saying, I'm not going to believe a word this guy says, for example, and then what, right? So no, you can't file a contempt petition against someone when there's no court order, but there's other things you can do to show the court of non-compliance with recommendations, or at least you can force the court to enter an order which then if they violate, you can sort of go after them for. So
Right. You could go into court and say, Judge, remember we had that discussion in court where we said we were going to agree to A, B, and C and behave ourselves. And well, he didn't. So here I am with this motion. Like Rahul says, going to damage their credibility in the meta case. And as he said, that's all the stuff surrounding the facts and the law. The way the judge perceives you is very important. So that's a great point. So yeah, thank you for that answer.
yeah, absolutely. And then we have a third question. In realistic terms, what typically happens in a long divorce, especially 4 years in, meaning 4 years into the divorce proceeding, which is actually exceptionally long, when the husband suddenly closes all of his businesses and claims a lower income job with a vague pay structure, with wording at his new job. So pay doesn't really make sense. It's much lower than what he used to make. Do you think, or do you believe, does the judge immediately impute income based on his prior or previous earnings before this person got this new job? Or will we still have to go through the full process of challenging and proving that he or this person intentionally took a lower paying job, what they in parentheses call sudden income deficit syndrome?
I've never heard of that. So sudden income deficit syndrome. Okay. So the answer to this, so you have a long case, and during the case, one of the parties basically quits their job, in this case, closes their businesses, and now has a lower income job with a vague pay structure and wording at the new job. So they owned a company, they were making money, then they quit. And now they're like a consultant or something, and they have some quirky variable income that's mysterious. Okay. Obviously very sus, as the kids say. So,
that is pretty sus. Yeah.
So again, meta case stuff doesn't look good. Optics are bad. Because, wow, we're not done with, they're getting close to the end of this case. All of a sudden, guy's not working at the companies anymore. And now he's working at his buddy's business. I'm making this up, and making like squirrely low income or mysterious income. The optics are bad. And a judge is not going to automatically impute income. But the burden is going to be on you to investigate these facts and show the court that this isn't legit. Otherwise, all you have is hoping the judge connects the dots. And what's that line? Hope is not a strategy. So, all you'd have is, well, it doesn't look good that the guy took, sold the companies or closed them, and now he's working for this other person and making much less money. Or my joke was, they walk a beach, they stop and they're just walking a beach collecting shells, or they're working at Walmart now and, as a greeter. So what we mean is they used to make a lot of money. Now all of a sudden they don't. And it seems like it's a voluntary thing. They weren't fired. Well, if it's a voluntary reduction in income, courts, they look askance at that, and they will tend to impute income, which means pretend the income's at the old level. But this is very fact specific. So if he went out of business, his business dried up, he was selling fax machines and email took over, well, maybe that really happened. If he had a viable business and just shut it down, and now he's selling art supplies, making very little money for his buddy, that's a problem. And so it's going to be super fact specific, and it will be up to you, though, to dig into those facts and show the court, because your spouse isn't going to do it for you, and show the court that they're just going to say, oh, now I'm making 25 grand a year, judge. I used to make 200,000. Obviously, the credibility is questionable. The judge is going to wonder why. But again, you want to fill in those blanks and have answers. Mm-hmm. So my suggestion is you're going to want to take depositions and bring in the new job. Like, let's talk to the people at the new company. What's the job about? Get the details, the employment agreement, pay stubs, find out what's going on over there to see if it makes any sense. So that's my answer to that. Rahul, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's exactly right. Yeah, no, I don't have anything to add to that. That was exactly, yeah.
So tell us about the 9 worst things to say to someone getting divorced.
Yeah, so this is an article out of Time magazine, time.com. It's just an article that describes 9 phrases that the article believes are not appropriate to say to someone who is going through a divorce. And it suggests alternative phrases that are more supportive and understanding. And so, so the 9 phrases are, it says, the first one is, what happened? And by the way, this was written after they asked experts. It says they asked experts and a divorcee from the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives to share worst things to say to someone who's getting divorced, plus which words actually help. So first one, what happened? So that's, instead they say something like, thank you for bringing me in on this hard news. I'll be careful with it. This is so much. Your mind must be spinning. The other one is, but you guys were so happy, right?
Oh, womp womp.
says instead offer a compliment like, you did what was right for you, and that's never easy. I admire your strength. This is a mouthful. At least you'll get time off from the kids.
No, they didn't say that, did they? I don't like that one. Oh no. The negative statement is, I thought you were saying that's what you say instead of, but you guys were so happy you try to be like, on the bright side, you get less time with the kids. So no, this is a bad thing to say. At least you get time off.
Just because your life is starting over doesn't mean your life is over. That's, for example, I am so sorry. Don't say that either. It says, you're an amazing person with a lot of love left to give. Don't say, you just need to get out there and start dating again, and then you'll feel better.
A lot of love left to give sounds like you're on your deathbed or something. Like, you've got so much left.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's sort of like saying something to the effect of having people around you makes you feel like you're less. Oh wait, no, that's. Yeah, no, I don't think there's one for this one. You need my attorney.
That's okay if their attorney's STG divorce law.
Yeah, right.
That is perfectly fine.
That's great advice. But otherwise, say something like, are you feeling well-resourced? Do you have good consultants walking with you right now?
Are you feeling well-resourced? All right, well, we're enjoying this article.
Oh, this is great. But what about the kids? Don't say that either.
The kids?
Yeah, don't say that.
Did you do you just need to get out there and start dating one? I think you skipped that one.
No, I said that one.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
Yeah. Oh, and you just need to get out there and start dating again, and then you'll feel better.
Yes. Get out there. Get out there and be somebody.
It's better than staying in a bad marriage. Don't say that. This must be incredibly hard. I hope you're giving yourself permission to feel whatever comes up. No one's going to say that.
Okay.
I mean, come on, realistic. Who's going to say that?
That's a little too touchy-feely, psychobabble.
I never liked them anyway. Yeah. Don't say that.
I never liked them anyway.
It's like, instead say something like, I know you did everything to make your marriage work, even when it was difficult. That's
yes.
pretty good.
Well, and the thing is, too, if you say your judgment about the person, you say they were a jerk or something, if they get back together, you're doomed.
You're doomed.
They'll never go back to make you're done as a friend because you took a side. So it's like, these are like no-win situation. You got to be careful.
Exactly. So I thought that was pretty interesting, right? I mean, again, one of those things where it's like, yeah, don't say stuff and what you should say. And some of the things you should say, I'm like, I don't think anyone's ever going to say that. That's way too much to remember.
Let me ask you a question then. Has any clients ever said to you, if people ask me what happened, what do I say? And do you have an answer for that? I'm just curious.
I don't think anyone's actually asked me that. Let me ask you that. What would you say?
So my advice is less, because I've been divorced and people ask me what happened. And because we were outwardly a very happy couple, we got along very well. I was married 24 years and we have 2 great kids, and we weren't like the fighting kind of couple. And it's none of their business, but you don't want to say none of your business. I said we grew apart. And you know what? That's the phrase it triggers some kind of switch in people's minds.
Yeah.
And they don't ask any further questions.
That's a great line. Yeah, we grew apart.
It's a truism, I guess. But people just kind of go, oh, yeah, okay. And then there's like no further questions. But if you give them some info, then they go, ooh, and they ask another question, because people just are like, they're desperate to know. They're very curious. When you say we grew apart, that's not fun or interesting. That's kind of what happens to most people, and it's boring. And so they don't ask any more questions.
They want drama, right? Oh, I found him or her having an affair, scandalous. They want that kind of stuff, right? We're in this Instagram, TikTok world where they want to see action or they want to see scandal.
They like gossip. So when you don't give them any gossip and you just say essentially nothing to see here by saying we grew apart, that isn't fun or interesting, and they just stop asking. And my ex-wife was on the same page, and we just had this nothing to see here approach, and it kept all the BS to a minimum. And also my professional colleagues, my lawyers in my firm, other lawyers would ask them what's going on. Rafe's getting divorced, and it was also very brief. We didn't drag it out. We got divorced in a few months, by agreement, very amicable. So there wasn't a lot to see, and it was done privately, and we did it by agreement. So another reason to negotiate, as you pointed out.
It's one of those where you see celebrities putting out these statements for that very reason, right? They don't want people speculating, gossiping, etc. Or you could just tell someone, just tell them if someone says, hey, why are you guys getting divorced? Just tell them what the law is, right? Irreconcilable differences have caused the irretrievable breakdown of our marriage.
And that's really, really what you're saying when you say we grew apart is we had irreconcilable differences. And that isn't fun or interesting. So it flips a switch. People just go, okay. And that's the end of the discussion.
Yeah, I guess that's lame. That's boring. I guess I don't need to know anymore.
So anyway, Rahul, tell people how folks can find you online.
Yeah, you can find me at Chicago Divorce on Instagram and on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And you can find me on all the platforms at Rayford Palmer on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Also, the firm STG Divorce Law is on LinkedIn, X, Facebook, Instagram. It's at STG Divorce Law. And I'm on all the socials at Rayford Palmer, also TikTok. So check us out. Easy to Google our information. And I have a best-selling divorce book, I Just Want This Done, where the name of the podcast came from. How Smart, Successful People Get Divorced Without Losing Their Kids, Money, and Minds. Available on Amazon, Kindle, and Audible. And where all great ebooks are sold. So we hope you check out our future shows, our previous shows. This show will be edited and drop in recorded form a week from now. Enjoy your holiday if we don't see you before then. And we appreciate you watching and spreading the word about the program. Thanks. Take care.